And
used to shine in my back door every day. Now the sun is turning rain. All my life till it's time. The pain is the pain of the same old blues. That's what I'm talking about.
All right, live at Cozy's.
Back in the day.
Back in the day, man, that was a great club, wasn't it?
Yeah, I like that place. Played there way too many times.
You have a whole bunch of cuts on from that night, I guess.
Yeah, we did a couple of shows there. I think we have a bunch of stuff from that. I think the other link I sent you is one of Mike's tunes. It's yeah, that's Mike. That's Mike. I mean, Mike's was a national. Well, I like to say is a national treasure. Mike is a national treasure. He unfortunately passed, but he's a national treasure.
Well, I would like to officially welcome John March. John March, thank you for being on today. It's really cool to see you.
Very cool.
Again.
Spontaneously.
Yeah, spontaneously. That's what I like. I like spontaneity. I want to get a little more into spontaneity, you know?
Is that an oxymoron? Is that like, I want to get into spontaneity. I like that.
Maybe.
Okay.
So, John lives in LA. He's a guitar player. Oh, sorry. You lived in LA.
Lived in LA.
You're in Colorado now.
Yep.
I knew that. I'm just saying, I did know that.
I know you knew that. It was a slip of the S and the D. It was a spontaneous.
Yeah. Yeah. Sometimes I think of the possibility of moving to Colorado. Why did you move to Colorado?
The 405 freeway.
Ah.
It's really the deciding factor for me. It was just, I think I had for a long time I had studios in different parts of LA, and I lived in Toluca Lake, and I would always have to get on the freeway to go places, and you'd spend 4 hours of your day commuting to where it was. I was on a freeway. No one believes this story, but it's true. I was on a freeway, and I was freaking out. Just freaking out. I was in traffic for like 3 hours, 2 or 3 hours, and I was honking, and I just looked up at God and I said, "What do you want? What is it?" And a car pulled in front of me, and the license plate was "Love Your Life." I was just like, and I'm not really particularly, I'm not religious in any means, but I was just like, okay, fine. And I was just like, okay. And I had community here, so I moved back to Colorado.
Why did you have community there?
I went to a number of colleges, and the last one that I went to was a Buddhist college in Boulder called Naropa University. Huh. And when I was a young man, I lived here. I lived with Allen Ginsberg for a while, and I was in kind of that transitional Buddhist Boulder music and arts community in the early '80s before I took off to work in New York and LA.
Oh,
so
wow.
I was here for about 4 or 5 years.
I just have to say that's quite a huge kind of well, you would think, although I'm sure, there are many spiritual people in music, but it's just an interesting to come from that and then go to New York and LA. That's quite a...
That's good, actually. I mean, I thought it was a good transition. I think Naropa was a really good seed. I was a rambunctious youth, and I think it was a good grounding time before going and striking out in the New York music and then Los Angeles music scene. And not that I'm particularly any more grounded than I was, but it gave me some tools to be able to transition that. And I grew up in New York, so it wasn't that big a deal.
Very interesting, John. I'm sure this is going to be a very interesting conversation.
I like optimists.
Well, that's me. I'm definitely the glass half full person. Much to
sure
some people's dismay.
My dad had a saying. He used to say, my son's probably laughing if he's watching this. My dad used to say that an optimist believes that we live in the best of all possible worlds, and a pessimist fears this is true.
That's funny. That is funny. Well, so let's start from the back and then go. I mean, anyway. Let's start with now.
Okay.
And then go back.
I'm down with that.
Okay. So what are you doing now? Obviously, you're still playing guitar, but you're also doing video production or editing or.
Yeah, mix it. I mean, it's the last few years were tough on everybody. I, for health reasons, did not gig at all during the 2 years. I was very cautious and in excess of caution, and so most of what I did was based in my studio here. Most of the work I did, and I have a media production company here that focuses on creating short form videos for Colorado artists. Some of them quite well known. I worked a lot for the Colorado Music Hall of Fame. My friend Chris Daniels at the time was the head, and I made a number of documentaries that had great Colorado musicians. People, they were some of it was found assets, but it was all the people who were being inducted into the Colorado Music Hall of Fame. So people like Diane Reeves and Ron Miles and Bill Frisell, and I mean I can't remember all of the films, but that was kind of the start of my interest in doing that. And then if there's musicians here that I want to support, I do that. And the last, I'd say year and a half, 2 years, I've been working with a Colorado pianist. His name is Bob Schlesinger. And he's been collaborating. He did one CD in collaboration with Mike Stern and Eddie Gomez and Billy Drummond. And that was the first project of theirs that I mixed and semi-produced. And then they did a second project with Mike and some other artists, which I've been producing and mixing for probably the last 8 or 10 months. And that's going to come out hopefully in the fall. And it's been just a real honor to be able to work on that kind of music and produce it. And then I play and do stuff for people. When you asked me to do this, to be honest, Cathy, I was like, well, I'm not like one of the cool hip cats
That's for me to decide.
Okay.
So far you're being pretty cool and hip. So
I'm just a regular thing. I do my thing. In the last 2 years ago, I produced a record for myself. I've done, this, but I've done two Ted Green tribute CDs. Ted connects you and I in very strong ways. And the last one came out about just before the pandemic. And I sometimes help people who are interested in what Ted's did, but mostly I keep my head down and try and pay the rent. That's most of it.
So in the last 2 years, I'm curious when you said, I guess, well, you can correct me if I'm wrong, but sounds like you created movies, videos, movies, and then so if you weren't going out, how did you do that? Did you collect what they had, footage?
Some of it was collected before.
Okay.
Some of it prior to the pandemic was assets that existed. Like there was a very very kind woman, and I'm sorry, I'm very bad with names at the moment. When we did the pieces about, there was one induction where Diane Reeves and Andrew Woolfolk and the guys from Earth, Wind and Fire and Bill Frisell and Ron Miles were all inducted at the same time. And there was a lot of found footage from her film and from other people's films. And I would write the script and then I would edit it. And then I would, for example, if there was something that needed music, I would write the music and then I'd mix it. And then those would be performed at the Hall of Fame inductions. So
Quite the job. Did that take a long time, or was it? Are you kind of flowing at this?
depends. I'm pretty fast. They were. Chris describes it as crunch time times 10. Like we would just have to get these things done.
Yeah.
And when I came on board, they didn't really quite have a process in play.
Yeah.
So I helped bring a little structure. And Chris and I, the gentleman I'm referring to, have known each other since we were kids in Boulder, in the early 80s. And so we had a really good working trust sort of thing. And I just would make the films. And then if there was an artist in Colorado, there's a wonderful drummer, Christian Thiel, I made a little biopic of, and Bob Schlesinger, the pianist I mentioned, a couple other people that I really like. I just like to support the community as best I can, because especially during the pandemic, it was very hard for people to self-promote. And it was almost impossible to find work, So.
Yeah. Yeah. I spoke to Diane, of course, like kind of early on. I think it was not as early as my iPad usage, but I don't know if you ever saw that period. But finally, a friend of mine in Germany, Judy Rafat, she called me and she said, "You have to, you have to get into Zoom. I was like, oh, well, and Restream. I was like, oh, okay. That was very helpful.
Well, the next level, there's another level.
Is there?
Next level is OBS.
Now, I've heard of that.
Yeah.
What is OBS? Is it like a Restream?
It is a
Or
restream. It's a stream. It's a live stream and a restream that you can go anywhere. It's free, but it's more like a television switcher than Zoom. So you can have like graphics and chyrons and transitions and usually better quality audio transmission than Zoom will let you do.
and
You can
it's
have
live like Zoom?
yeah, and you can have multiple streams. You could have I don't know if people saw the video you posted of Mike singing.
Yes, they did.
Oh, they saw it. Okay, so yeah, it's the same idea. You can switch screens, but it's like a TV switcher, so you can have a scene where like maybe the camera's tighter on you, or you have multiple cameras in your room, so you're changing angles, and you just push a button and it changes. And it's a little bit more like I think the bigger community that uses it is the gaming community for live streaming, but musicians are using it a lot for this kind of thing because you can just get a little. It's a little bit further up in production.
It sounds like you need, or you can use a few cameras instead of just one camera.
Yeah. Oh yeah. Yeah, you can put your phone up. You can connect your phone. You
Oh
could
wow.
connect a GoPro. You could use your camera that's on the computer. It's. I mean, it's. I don't think it's for what you're doing. I think this is lovely. I think it feels personal to me. I could be tighter on the crop if that's more. Is that a little too much?
Yeah, I just find sometimes I really get in there, and then I kind of go, well, that doesn't look so great, so I think I'm going to sit a little further back.
If it gets animated and we'll get into a heated conversation, I'll lean in.
I do like the adjust the appearance on Zoom. That's quite
I've
nice.
never used that. The only thing I've ever used on Zoom. Let's see if I can see
See,
where.
when I don't use it, when I use FaceTime, it's like, oh, I guess that's what I really look like.
I've used this just for fun,
That's cool.
and I've used that.
Uh-huh.
And then, of course, I'm so cool I gotta wear shades. And then, of course, during COVID, I use this a lot.
That's funny.
Like,
That's very funny. Okay, so
yeah.
now I have a better image of what's been going on for you in more recent years. When did you move there?
I came back here about 9 years ago, 10 years ago.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah. So it's quite a bit of time.
Yeah, I like it. I mean, it's a good community. There's a pretty thriving music and arts community. My wife had never lived in the States before,
Oh,
so she and my stepson moved here, and it was a good transition for them. I think Los Angeles would have been a little too much. I don't think they would have enjoyed
where
it.
are they from?
I met them in out near Cancun in an area called Akumal.
Okay.
So my wife was working at a big hotel called Bahia Principe, which is between Tulum and Akumal, and they were living in this beautiful little house on I guess it's on the inland side because there's only one road, on the inland side of the road, sort of in the jungle.
Yeah.
And it was she worked at the hotel. She was great. She was running the photography department, and then she moved up and she became the director of special events for the entire chain. It was a good gig, but we wanted to live here. We wanted to live in the States.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Um, cool.
She's pretty
So,
cool. And if she's watching, my wife's pretty cool. You're awesome. Totally awesome.
oh. Okay, just you like now you're totally hip and cool.
Okay. Thank you.
Just saying. Um, okay, so let's talk about guitar. So what the last 2 years? Did you say that you recorded a CD?
I finished the second Ted Green tribute CD a couple of years ago. And then I got into this weird thing of making tribute songs to artists that I like. I sent you a couple of links where I take found video, stock footage, and I'll make something for an artist that I like. I think I sent you two of them. One is Joni's Both Sides Now, my arrangement of that. And then there's a singer-songwriter named Sarah Bareilles, who I really like a lot. And she had a song called Manhattan, which really struck home for me. And so I do that, and every once in a while I'll do those. And then most of the time, if I'm playing guitar, it's sessions that people send me to do remote, or scoring stuff I'll do for friends who are doing shows. Trying to keep my hands moving as much as possible.
Yeah.
But you know,
I want to hear one of those. I want to hear either the TED or the other ones that you spoke of. I mean, we'll hear them all anyway. But
well, the TED CD. There's two of them. The first Ted Green CD that I did as a tribute was right after Ted passed. I'd spent about a year and a half recording about 15 of his arrangements, and working with Barbara, kind of going back and forth to discuss, first of all, whether I'd even release it, because I was very uncomfortable releasing it. I was kind of just doing it for myself.
Yeah.
And then I eventually released it, and it's all basically my improvisations around his arrangements of his tunes, of the standards that he really liked.
Yeah.
And then the second one, I decided that I'm not a solo guitarist by any means. It's incredibly stressful. So I took all the stuff I worked on with Ted about arranging and accompaniment for singers. And I made a second CD, which is one that came out 2 years ago, which is different arrangement styles of harmonic approaches to guitar accompanying singers. So that was the focus of that one.
Oh, that I have to listen to that. But
well, I sent you a really cool version of "For Once in My Life" that's pretty out there.
Okay, I'm good. Should I watch that?
It's not a video. I think that's only audio.
Okay, can we listen?
You can do it. Yeah, it's your show. I'm here for you.
Okay, so now I have loop back, but I just kind of added it back in, so I'm not sure if the sound is great.
It shifted in the middle of the video. You did it great. It was perfect.
It did. Okay, great. I just have to say, is that too loud or is that fine?
I think it's coming through your microphone and not loop back. That's what it sounds like.
Ah, okay. Yeah, let's see.
I love loopback, by the way. I think loopback's a great tool.
I used to have it, then I got rid of it, then I just kind of opened it up again, and so I'm not totally 100% sure of what's happening. So tell me how the sound is. I'm going to turn off my microphone.
Okay. Watch. I'll thumb up or thumb down. How's that?
Did you say turn my microphone down?
No, I'll thumb up or thumb down.
Oh, yes, please do. Okay. All right. Okay, so yeah, I have to do something different. But here's what I normally do without loopback involved. I normally just share the sound. So how's this?
Perfect.
For once in my life, I've got someone who needs me, someone I needed so long. For once, unafraid, I can go where life leads me. Somehow I know I'll be strong. For once, I can touch what my heart used to dream of long before I knew. Oh, someone warm like you, baby, could make my dreams come true. For once in my life, I won't let sorrow hurt me, not like it's hurt me before. For once I got some
Wow. Quite the song. By the way, there's that sexy picture of you leaning against the wall. Okay. That's really cool. I should be on. Are you on?
Do you hear me?
Now I do.
I was going, no, no, no.
That's a very sexy picture. I'm sorry.
Oh my God.
um, I was thinking, is Jeff Paris the
That is
guy?
Jeff.
Yeah, yeah. I was reading. Is he the ex jazz pianist guy?
Jeff is everybody's guy. He's been in LA, a fixture in LA for ever. We met when I was 20. He plays guitar with Keb Mo, Dave Stewart, Ringo Starr. He's also the B3 player on that
Yeah.
recording, and he plays piano on B3. I think Jeff plays everything. I have some great recordings of him and me back in the day playing standards together, singing his butt off.
But now I think it's weird because you know how shit disappears.
Yes, on a moment to moment basis.
Yeah, like Jeff Paris. I was thinking that Jeff was I I was thinking that I saw him play. I know who to ask, but I saw him play with a friend of mine, and when I came up to sit in, he said, "Cathy Segal-Garcia," and I said, "Yeah," and he said, "It's me," blah blah blah, and I think Jeff. Anyway, I can't remember right now, but I'm gonna have to make myself a note to remind myself if that was Jeff Paris. I'm pretty sure it was him.
You would know Jeff if you met. Jeff's a very great, really strong player, great singer. He was irritated with me about that arrangement in that song because it's not his key,
Oh,
and so he had to really stretch around his comfort zone to do it because I change the harmony, especially on the hook, pretty intensely as it comes around each time, and he and the key again wasn't his key, so you can hear he's really pushing his edge, but he liked it, and I think the vocal's beautiful. I think it's got a really great narrative arc in that storyline. You know,
I think it's great. Very, very, very funky.
yeah, it was intended, but all the harmonies and the chord work underneath is based on stuff I worked on when I worked with Ted. So I
Yeah,
have to figure out how to adapt it.
yeah. Um, let's see. Kevin Williams says hello.
Hi, Kevin.
Taylor Hatch is a guitar player who is at UNT, and he asks a lot of great questions. I also have credits for you, which might be about you or another John March, from All Music Credits. So we'll
Don't know
look
what
at
that
those.
means.
Well, All Music is a website that allmusic.com, and we usually look at that just to see. Sometimes it's really accurate. Sometimes it's 80% accurate, and sometimes it's not about you.
Okay.
It's about
Probably
some
in
other
all
John March.
likelihood, all the stuff you're going to have, I always license everything, so you have no issues. So I have
Well,
everything.
this is just a list of. I'll show you later.
Okay.
But Taylor has a question. He's kind of the king of questions.
Okay. I
And
am the prince of answers.
oh, I well
Royalty.
Taylor meet John. John meet Taylor,
Honored.
and he's a guitar player. In your practice now, what technical things are you trying to improve upon, or try to be more efficient at? Etudes, standards, transcribing.
Uh, That's a really good question. I've been playing for 55 years, and so my hands are a little beat up. So I work with keeping them moving. I had hand surgery on this guy about a month ago, and so I'm just kind of getting back to playing. I think at this point mostly what I work on is being able to play things. There's a piece of music I've been looking at for the last couple of weeks, the Paganini Caprice in number 16 in G minor, to get my fingers moving because it has a lot of wide leaps. I work on TED stuff probably every day because it just keeps my hands and my brain moving. I write arrangements, so I like to listen to songs really deeply and like take them apart and then put them back together and see how it fits in my odd brain. I think mostly for at my stage of playing, it's just keeping my hands moving because there's too many virtuosos out there already, and I'm not one of them. So technically, I'm not going to be that proficient anymore. I'm going to be more about musical statements, sense of time, sense of harmony. People like the chord work that I do because I do a little bit more unusual than traditional guitar work, guitar chord work. And I try and keep my ears open. I listen to a lot of the young guys. There's a wonderful guitar player, Antoine Boyer, who's I think 25 or 26 years old. He comes from a classical training, and he's a gypsy jazz player and a wonderful improviser and a wonderful writer. Ted would go crazy for this guy.
Wow.
And he's just a beautiful, beautiful young musician. The other guys I listened to recently are Josh Meader, but he's an Australian guitar player, but his technical level is like Alan Holdsworth level playing.
Yeah.
I don't understand it, so I just listen.
Yeah.
But Taylor, I think if you're asking what I do to keep my hands moving, I just play music as much as I can, given what my life demands of us.
Yeah. Yeah. Cool. Thank you. And let's see what all credit. I'll show you what all credits is. So all credits is the site, all music, and
Are you going to share the screen with me?
yeah. Can you see it? You should be.
No,
able
I
to-
just see you right now. Let me see if I have another screen. Hold on, let me. Okay, Squarespace All Music, new releases. Song highlights, John March. Holy cow. I've never even heard of this. Awesome.
Yeah, let's see. I lost it though. Let me just type that back
Is
in.
this like a streaming site?
No, it's like an information. See, I guess of course I don't know how many
I don't think that's me.
stage and screen.
I don't think my son is an
And
actor.
this one's you because look.
Yep, that's all that stuff with the Zen Blues Quartet. Yep. Wow, this is creepy and funny at the same time.
Maybe one of those guys put this in.
Well, the weirdest one I've seen is where a number of records that I've made are ringtones in China. That's like definitely the weirdest one I
Oh
ever.
my gosh.
So I'm finding weird stuff all the time. We're on Spotify. The Zen Blues Quartet, which was the first track that you played, was a project with me, Steve Ferroni, who was Tom Petty's drummer for a long time, and he was just out with John Mayer and Mike Finnegan, and then there were other keyboard players, Jeff Young from Steely Dan, and I never remember all the great people, Sting, Milen Kirov on keyboards, and we had Steve Medeo on sax, and Tom Saviano. We've got a number of guys,
Saviano.
Tom. Yeah, exactly.
There's a name from the past.
Reverend Dave. We've had Reverend Dave on the records. Reverend Deborah. But that project, we did 2 CDs. That was from a live thing, but we did 2 great CDs, the Zen Blues Quartet. And we have a lot of views on Spotify, but I've never gotten a check. So, I don't know. If I ever get a check from Spotify, I'll let you know.
Yeah, me too.
Yeah.
Here's a different site for some reason, and this has a
Yeah, I worked on all those. Yeah, those are films. And wow, the Pit and the Pen. Wow. So I was do you know what a synclavier is?
Yeah.
So I was, I think, one of the first freelance synclavier programmers in the world. And I started in New York, and I had, I worked at the record plant in New York, and then I was at Westlake Audio in LA and had my own studio. And that's way back. That wonderful composer on the film The Pit and the Pendulum was a horror film, I think.
Huh.
And I was the synclavier programmer with that composer, who was a really great guy. That was a whole part of my life, was doing synclavier work. It was probably 10 years of my life in LA as the synclavier programmer for a lot of people.
Oh, well, that's pretty cool.
You're trying to push me into the cool and hip zone, and it's not going to happen. Both my boys will tell you that's not possible.
I don't know, John. You're doing pretty good on that so far.
Synclavier was a really good way to be able to stay being a guitar player.
Uh-huh.
It was a really good, because you got to meet all these really creative, interesting people. Like I did a lot of the music programming for the Dangerous tour for Michael Jackson.
Oh.
And I got to meet I got to meet Matt Forger and Bruce Swedien, and a lot of the incredibly talented people around those projects. Sting came to my studio in LA and worked for 2 weeks on a song of his.
Wow.
And I got to watch his process up close. I mean,
Yeah.
it was a good thing, and my mind is good with that kind of thing. I like creative technical stuff, and it let me keep playing guitar, which is a hard thing to do for anybody, just to play guitar and figure out how to make a living. Or
That's so cool. That's really good. I was talking with Jean Perla yesterday, who uh, once I really understood like who he played with and his career, I was blown away actually. But anyway, he said this after he had already been playing like with Elvin Jones and everybody, he somehow bumped into an engineer who worked at Todd Rundgren's studio,
uh-huh.
and they needed somebody. So for several weeks, he went and he was the assistant. He shut his mouth. He didn't even get paid because he was so kind of he wanted to learn. That's why he was doing it. And he said Todd was like less than impressed with him, you know. And one day, very suddenly, the bass player, they needed a bass player for a project. I forget what project it was. It wasn't a jazz project, but it was a project. And Todd said, an acoustic bass would be really good on this. And Gene said, I play acoustic bass. So, and Todd was like, yeah, right. So he said, well, go get it, So he brought it in and he took it out and he just, started playing a little. And Todd jumped up out of his seat and ran over to him and said, oh my God, you can really play, and from then on it was cool.
Yep.
But yeah, I thought that was interesting too, to kind of ride that moment, that obviously the universe created, or you created that moment in the universe, and you recognize it.
I was obstinate.
You were obstinate?
I was in New York, and I was a young guy. I'd met some really great producers. I'd done a few sessions, but it was always so hit or miss. And my dad, who had been a filmmaker, and freelance all his life, had said to me, kid, don't put all your eggs in one basket.
Yeah.
Figure out some ways. Like my dad had been a grip and a key lighting guy and an actor and and he became a director and he ended up working quite a bit. And so I was looking around and I was like, it's kind of like this theory I have with my son when he's an actor. And I was like, well, if you're going to be a waiter, find the most expensive restaurant in Los Angeles and figure out how to be a waiter there. So the most expensive audio thing back then that was doing all the most creative work was Synclavier. And so I went to their office and I walked in and I said, I'd like to buy your manuals. And they were, why? And I said, because I want to learn. And they said, well, a machine costs $1 million. And I was like, that's separate issue. And they said, well, okay. And this is before PDFs. This is before computers. So it was like buying a set of Encyclopedia Britannica. I mean, they were huge. And I took them home. And 2 weeks later, I came back and I said, okay, I've memorized the manuals. And I want to pay your product specialist who trains owners to train me in the afternoons so that I can learn how to do this. Because it was a very complicated machine. It's like the first multi-track sort of recording device and hard disk multi-track. And the guys were kind of laughing, but they said, sure, okay. And I met this wonderful guy, Greg Laporta, who was willing to train me. And 2 weeks later, I was the Synclavier programmer at the record plant. But that's because I got mentored. I got very lucky. For whatever reason, this gentleman named Hans Tobiasen, who was a very well-established producer in New York, saw something in me and took me under his wing. And from there, I had a pretty solid career with him and another gentleman named Bruce Nazarian, with Synclavier as a basis for my livelihood for a long time.
Wow.
Yeah, I was very lucky. But that was back in the day when being mentored was a little bit more probable.
Yeah.
Like that was a possible thing. You could meet someone who would see something and mentor you for whatever reason.
Well, I think it was kind of less crowded too, at that time, And I mean, yeah, less crowded, and you're less likely to find somebody online doing it, because, it's more like an in-person kind of a thing, which, of course, it leads to personal connection too,
Which is what it's all. I think in the end run, those relationships. My friend Bruce, who really took me under his wing for about 4 years, passed about 8 years ago, and I miss him terribly because we became very good friends, and we would talk to each other when we were on projects where we were having a problem, and we would be able to talk as equals.
Yeah.
And say, well, but he started me. I mean, I started when I knew nothing with him, and he was just a really amazing person to know. And he was the original guitar player in Brownsville Station. Do you remember that band? Smoking in the Boys Room.
Okay, yeah.
And he had a photographic memory. He met a girl and decided, she was Portuguese, and decided he would learn to speak Portuguese in a week and memorized the dictionary and figured out how to speak Portuguese in a week or two.
Wow.
Yeah, he was that kind of guy. Really cool.
Wow. That's really interesting.
Yeah, I loved him dearly.
So we're moving backwards in time a little here. So I'm interested in what you brought up first. Like, so you mentioned a college that you went to. Did you say you went to several colleges or what? Or a Buddhist college? 5 colleges.
That's going the way back. We're skipping my whole good. Let's skip my 50s, 40s, and 30s and 20s. I like this. So let's do it.
I mean, just
Did you freeze?
haphazardly.
Did I lose you?
You froze, but where I froze, whatever. It's okay.
Looks like I lost you.
Can you hear me though? Hello. Okay, we're.
To do.
Oh, there we go.
Now you're unfrozen.
Okay.
There you go. Okay. Was I frozen?
Yeah, but
Oh, okay.
Whatever.
Your internet connection is unstable. I'm on fiber optic cable, so I don't know the answer to that.
Me too. I don't know either. I don't know.
We
don't
can
care.
skip my 50s, 40s, and 30s. I'm okay with that.
Well, let's skip it for now. We're improvising.
Yeah, I'm good with that. I got no problem.
Because I'm interested in this period.
I went to 5 colleges.
How did that happen?
I was 15 when I got my GED. I was done. I just needed to be done. And so I went, and I didn't have great grades in high school. I was a little bit of a reprobate. And so I went to a liberal arts college called Hartwick in upstate New York. And I went there for a year, got good grades, studied music, got a scholarship to NYU, to the Music Business and Technology program, where I learned synthesis on Martin Subotnick's Buchla, which was really cool.
What is that?
Martin Subotnick was one of the original, like Moog and those guys, and Buchla were the 2 main sort of synthesizers. If you ever saw any of the old sci-fi movies where you're hearing like theremin type music and sci-fi music, that was probably Martin Subotnick.
That's so interesting. As a matter of fact, one of these doctors that I was telling you about, his name is Craig Harris, and he was actually one of the original Moog.
I know Craig.
You do?
I know Craig. Craig was a Synclavier guy. If it's the same Craig Harris,
it probably is.
If it's the same Craig Harris, he was a Synclavier guy. I got to work with him a few times in LA. Very talented guy.
How
Very,
cool
very
is that, man? I'm going to see him tomorrow. I'll tell you. I'll tell him.
Ask him if he was a Synclavier guy.
I'm sure he was. I'm sure it's the same guy. He had
That's
some
pretty
kind of
funny.
major accident, and he got this particular kind of therapy and studied it. And he's very empathetic. He's very energy
a cool guy.
oriented.
Yeah, cool guy.
Yeah.
He was a
Anyways.
very, very good Synclavier programmer. Very, very good Synclavier programmer.
That is so cool, man. That's great.
It's weird. It's a small world.
Yeah, it's very
It's
small.
really small.
So sorry for interrupting.
Oh, no.
Go ahead.
I was at NYU in the Music Business and Technology program.
Okay.
So I was 16, or just turning 17. And I went to the summer program at Berkeley in between years because I wasn't sure I was going to stay at NYU. And at that time I got accepted. I was the first guitar player. I got accepted to Indiana University to study with Dave Baker. And I think I was 17 and I went. And I lasted 8 weeks because the drinking age there was 21, so I couldn't gig at any of the bars. And the music program with Dave, they'd never had a guitar player before. So they were like, well, for all the big band stuff, you can play the piano part or you can play the first tenor part. And I'm like, well, I don't read piano double clef for guitar, and I'm certainly not going to transpose down a ninth for everything I need to play. And I lasted 8 weeks, and I called Berkeley and I said, do you think there's any way I could get financial aid based on my grades and what I did and attended? And they said, yeah. And so I went back to Berkeley, and I lasted almost until I graduated, the semester before. But we were living in this horrible tenement in Alston, and this is such a stupid story. I was in the shower, and the piece of the ceiling in the tenement fell out, knocked me onto the ground, knocked me in the head, knocked me on the ground. While I was on the ground, a rat bit me,
Oh
and
my God.
I kind of decided in that moment that I didn't really want to be there anymore. And a friend of mine out in
Oh my
Colorado said,
God.
this university I'm at, this Buddhist university, is really cool, and we're in Boulder, and you should come. And I packed my shit and got on a plane, and
Wow.
a week later I was living at Allen Ginsberg's house.
Now, okay, now that in itself is like a whole story. So,
Yeah, but it was
could
good.
you
It was
expound on that a little bit?
he had a room.
Oh,
There was a room available for rent, and Naropa University, which is a Buddhist college, is was at that time quite small. There were probably about 25 or 30 of us,
oh,
and I don't really know how I did it, but I convinced them to let me transfer, and I ended up being there and getting my degree from there, finishing my degree and becoming part of a Buddhist community that was there. And Naropa was it a fledgling place? It was actually called the Naropa Institute when I was there. And then I think by the time I was leaving, they got their accreditation as a university right after I graduated. I think I was the only one in my graduating class. It was the class of '84, and I remember the president of the university coming up to me in the hallway with my diploma and going, "Oh, I forgot to get it signed," and then running away and coming back. And that was kind of it.
so of course I need to know this. So, so I mean, I realize that just because it was a Buddhist college, that doesn't mean that you necessarily became a Buddhist. But did you find that that there was an effect or an effective Buddhism, or did you actually become a Buddhist? Or, I mean,
That's a great oxymoron. Do you become a Buddhist? I'm a recalcitrant Buddhist. I am more aligned at this point in my life with Christopher Hitchens than I probably am with Buddhism. Hitchens was an essayist, devout atheist. Brilliant speaker, brilliant writer. He's passed, but he talked about the idea of organized systems of spirituality and metaphysics as being excuses for good people to do bad things. And I think that Buddhism, for me, my experience is that the essential teachings of what the Buddha has to offer are incredibly valuable. Being present, being compassionate, skillful means. I spent 6 years training with a Zen monastery, and I spent another 4 years training as a meditation instructor with a group in Los Angeles. I actually developed the meditation for musicians program at MI.
oh,
So I think that there's value to contemplative practice. I mean, one of the best musical experiences I had in my life was I went with a group of Zen nuns to Italy, and we followed in silence for 3 weeks. We followed the path of St. Francis through where he would go in the woods, and we would sit in silence in these incredibly still places. And it inspired me to do a lot of creative work. If you ask me, am I a Buddhist now? I would say I don't really resonate with the metaphysical, and I don't really resonate with non-pragmatic integration of these kinds of ideas into daily life, because I think it becomes too precious, and it becomes too it separates people from really connecting with other people more than it connects people with other people, in my experience. So I think there's a lot of value to it, but and it has a lot of influence on my playing in my life. But I think you have to, over time. The Buddha said that each individual must diligently seek his or her own salvation. So it's not something that you have to figure out how to do with a whole bunch of other people. You have to figure it out. But this is just a topic that I'm actually writing an article for a magazine about right now, about this kind of thing. So I've been thinking about it a lot. Like, I think, there's a great book on music and practice. What is it? What is the wonderful book that everybody reads on? It's by a piano player.
effortless mastery.
Yeah, that's a great book.
It is a great book.
relaxation and preparation and presence and pragmatic integration of these ideas into how you can be more present. I love that book.
You know, he just came out with the second book.
Are you kidding?
I'm not kidding, and it's really a good book. I like it almost even better. It's called Being the Instrument, and you can really see and get a feel of how how his perspective kind of grew, and where he's at now. Really,
What's his name again? What's his name?
Kenny Werner.
Kenny Werner. I'm gonna
Well,
go buy that.
you do know that, I don't know if you know this, but Berkeley, about 7 years ago, literally made a effortless mastery department.
No,
Yes.
that's awesome.
I know. And Kenny actually is the head of it. And I mean, it's a whole department. I just loved that, when I found that out. There's another book too that I'm super fond of called Free Play: The Art of Improvisation in Life and the Arts.
I think I've started to read that, but I never finished it.
It's by Stephen Nachmanovich, who, interestingly, Stephen and Kenny came out with those books at the same time. And Stephen is a improvisational violinist and a student of Bateson, Gregory Bateson, who's, just a thinker, philosopher. And and last year he came out with his second book too, The Art of Is, and
Art of Is.
also kind of an expansion from the first book. So I just thought, wow, this is, I don't know, I felt very connected to those four books and those two guys.
Yeah.
I thought it was great. But yeah, Effortless Mastery when it came out was,
It was groundbreaking. I mean, I
Yeah.
also really love Victor Wooten's book.
I
You
do
know,
too.
I thought
That's
it
a
was
great
really
book
great.
too.
I mean, especially the idea, just the one, if you only take that one core idea of never lose the groove, you can pretty much play anything. I mean, it was very, because a lot of students that I work with are always so afraid they're going to play the wrong note,
Yeah.
and I made a case once at a lecture series I did where I said every note works. I mean, this is, we all know this, but every note works against everything.
Yeah.
Jacob Collier has been talking about this in his lectures and he is a way high level example of somebody being able to make every note work with every
Yeah.
note.
Yeah.
But it's really not. It's a question of comfort, and I think Miles's line was it? Is it if you hit the note, hit it twice, so they think you did it on purpose?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Absolutely. I have a thing that I give my students. And it's first at first they have to be able to sing a chromatic scale.
Okay.
And that is different levels, right, for different people. Some people don't even know what that means. Some people have to have the piano first and then sing it for a while, and then, up, maybe different from down, all this kind of stuff. And the reason I give them is I show them that tensions exist everywhere. It's, you have a whatever degree of tension against any chord at all, and I make them love it. So, there's a chord, they sing a chromatic scale. They don't sing it just da 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 da. They sing one note and then they go to the next note, hold it, and I make them fall in love with that feeling.
Yep.
It's not a bad feeling. And especially, gosh, when Benny Maupin used to play here live, I would be waiting for his tension notes. I'd be like, where is it? Because he was so in tune with the note, which made the relationship with the chord magical. It was really good.
I agree with that.
Yeah.
I think the thing I've been trying to talk about more is this idea that I think of scale, like when I'm asked by students what scales should I practice, I'll usually say the chromatic scale. If you're trying to hear, if you're trying to get your hands to move, practice whatever you want and figure out how to move, especially on guitar, because guitar is such a weird
Yeah.
thing. I remember I studied with Mick Goodrick back in Boston, and he talked about the guitar as 6 one-stringed instruments.
Oh.
And so learning on one string at a time how to move and play so that you're not basing what you're playing on geometry, which is like shapes, or geography, which is the location, but you're basing it on, like if you play a blues scale on the low E string of a guitar, you'll actually see the distances between the root, the low E string, and any of the other notes, and you'll hear what it means to move that distance. So if I play a low E and a B on the 7th fret, I'll hear and see, oh, that distance makes that sound. And so I try and explain that all scales are basically just ways of organizing distance. Everything is about distance. So if I have a major scale, if I'm starting on the root of a major scale, I know that there's a whole step and another whole step and a half step. And, I know those distances, and those set up qualities of tension and release. And that modes are just different characteristics within that same set of organization. But not to worry so much, because if you play any one of those 12 notes, move. Don't be afraid to stop or move and see what that quality is. The exact same way you're describing. Like, where does that color sit in my palette? Like, if I'm playing a major 7th chord and a B flat major 7th chord, and I play a B natural, depending on the register, I like it. Like I like it in the lower register more than I like it in the higher register, because I always feel like I'm getting in the way of the vocalist with weird tension to that like that. But there's some great colors in those off moments, and I think that, and then the pedagogy for a lot of schools is, especially for guitars, this is a caged system, or these are the shapes you need to know, or this is the pattern, the physical pattern you need to know. And I'm like, well, that's not music. That's it's like going up to somebody in France and saying "Où est la toilette?" and you're trying to figure out how to get to the bus. So it's good that you know to ask where the bathroom is. It just may not be the most appropriate question in that moment.
That's funny. Yeah. Yeah, it's yeah. I mean, for vocalists, I am trying to move them. I call it more of an instrumental kind of a approach. You're an instrument. You happen to be a vocalist. You're an instrument. So you need to get familiar with how your instrument sounds, how the high notes operate with the low notes. Of course, there's technique, but then also, what it what you know it's about rhythm, and it's about how the note you're singing marries with the chord that you're on. So get into it.
I like the image of marriage. I like the image of marriage because marriage can be all kinds of crazy stuff. So it's not just marriage being like joining. It's
Yeah,
what are the tensions and releases within that in that relationship.
yeah,
You're teaching about the relationships of that,
yeah, yeah,
that kind of thing, and where they are. That's great.
yeah.
Marriage. If you really want to mess them up, turn them on to the conical singers. You know,
Now, who are they? Yeah, I know that name, but
conical is the Indian classical singing. So it's the
oh,
microtonal pitch as well
yeah,
as the very advanced rhythmic singing, where you need to have like 4 or 5 tongues in your mouth at
yeah,
least
yeah.
to be
That's
able
crazy
to
shit. Yeah,
do that. Yeah, that's just
that's
great.
really crazy. There was a young woman who was kind of popping up a lot over the pandemic who was singing the crap out of jazz shit, and she was Indian, and it was like, whoa, wow.
I'd like to hear that.
Yeah,
Send
I
me that
forget
link.
her name. I don't know if anyone's listening. Maybe Dan might know. Oh, thank you. My slave is here with Starbucks. Thank you.
What did you bring me a vanilla frappuccino?
Yeah, next time.
Oh, thank you.
That's really cool. I have a very supportive husband.
Oh, I'm sorry. Thank you. I'll get my own frappuccino later.
He would have brought you one, but you're a
Oh,
little far away. Oh, thanks, Roland. So her name is Vari Joshri.
Vari Joshua. I'll look her up. I
Yeah.
love conical. The great there's a great conical teacher. I'll send you the link to him. He does stuff on Facebook. I tried to get him to come to Colorado, but he's probably one of the most advanced rhythmic people on the planet. But what he sings is so beautiful and organic, and how he's able to do it. There's some beautiful things with his son that he does. But and then the Indian Berkeley ensemble, the Berkeley Indian
Indian
ensemble.
ensemble.
Some of the music there that they do is incredible. You know, it stretches beyond technique and ability into real language based music. It's pretty amazing.
Yeah, I think that the music in general is going toward, not that it's going to happen tomorrow, but I think it's been on the path and it's moving there faster. Is going to more of a one world music, and that doesn't mean this person's one world music sounds like this person's, but just the blending of it's a reflection of life, right? It's just the blending of what we know makes us who we are. So same in music, and we're definitely reflecting what's going on. And I think normal people like us, I'm saying that we're normal as opposed
Thank you.
to,
I was saving my gratitude for that descriptor.
well, I'm just talking about like abnormal, like political people. That's
Ah, okay.
you know.
I
But
went viral yesterday on NPR.
say what?
I went viral yesterday on NPR. I've never
Get out
had
of
that many.
here.
I posted one sentence on We Know What's Going On. I posted one sentence, and within like 2 hours, 7,000 people had liked and commented. And there were the or obvious idiots, and then but most people, because I posted one specific sentence in response to what had been said, and I don't really want to do a political thing because it seems, but you know what I'm talking about.
Yeah, yeah.
And it was the first time I'd actually gotten that kind of a response. Where just
Wow.
everybody was like,
That's amazing.
yeah, for me it was complete. My computer kept going bing, 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 and my wife was going, "What's going on?" I said, I'm playing pachinko."
Probably on TikTok you'd be getting like triple that amount of people.
I I am a Luddite. I'm
Wow.
a very technically advanced person, and social media wise, I'm kind of a Luddite because I don't. I'm terrible at self promotion, and I'm terrible at just. I get distracted too easily, so I try to stay away from those kinds of things.
Yeah. Well, I'm not a TikTok person, but I have been hearing about it a lot lately, just from friends who are intrigued by it, like my friend who's very creative. She's a singer and dancer and a writer, and she has a beautiful relationship with Senegal. But she said that she's somehow just gotten totally into TikTok because it's extremely creative. People are just creating stuff and putting it there, and you can find out about pretty much anything
Yep,
that you want to know about.
in 60 seconds or less.
Oh, okay. My friend actually shared a video. I'm going to just show you, just not too long, but because I want to show you this woman. I think you'll be intrigued.
ಆಡಿಸಿದಳು ಆಡಿಸಿದಳು ಯಶೋದ ಆಡಿಸಿದಳು ಯಶೋದ ಆಡಿಸಿದಳು ಯಶೋದ 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 ಜಗದೋದ್ಧಾರನ ಆಡಿಸಿದಳೆ
I'm not sure if this is her doing.
This is traditional Indian classical music. So it's the beginning of it's. So I can show. Am I allowed to share?
You are, but wait, before you do, I want to see if this is the same girl because I don't know if it is. Oh yeah, I guess it is. But okay, just check this out for 1 second.
Sure.
Here's the Wooten brothers and her. Anyway, she was doing a like a. Well, let's see. I haven't actually seen the Wooten brothers, but this is. Anyway, it goes on and on. She's done a lot on there. But
Yeah, she's very, very melodically and rhythmically advanced. She's awesome.
Yeah. No, you can share as well.
I can share? Okay.
Yeah.
Let me see if I can find this. So this is, he did one based on the Fibonacci sequence, and then he also did, this is just, I really like this because it's father and son. So let me see, how do I do this?
You share screen from the bottom of your Zoom.
Okay, and then share sound and optimize for video. So I love this gentleman and his son. Yeah.
Wow. Holy moly.
I love that. I'm sorry. My wife will hear me listening to this stuff, and she's like, "Oh, you're listening to that stuff." And I'm like, "No, it's not a call. It's like I love this stuff."
Okay, there's one more thing I have to share with you.
Sure, absolutely.
Let me go to my channel and my favorites. Let's see, playlists, something. Well, there's a Joe Diorio one. Let's see. I forget how to get to my favorites. Let's see. How do I get to my favorites? Shoot. Let's see. YouTube Studio.
I can't answer those kinds of rhetorical questions, but I will patiently.
Content, maybe.
Don't do that. I'm talking to my computer.
I really want to show you. All I have to do is get to my favorites. So I'm not sure how to do that. Favorites. I didn't know. Anybody know? Can help me? Let's see. Noontime hangs live. Uploads. Damn. Shoot. I'm gonna have to find it later.
I can share. I share. Do you like Mahavishnu? That kind of music?
Yeah.
Well, I was working with some stuff from TED about chords, and I was looking at Mahavishnu, and I wrote this piece for acoustic guitar, and I can share that with you.
Sure.
We can share that. Okay. This is something I never play for people, so this is cool. Okay, so this is, it's all, you'll see the notation, but it's chords, but played weirdly.
Wow. Okay.
That was all based on stuff I worked on with Ted about non-functional harmony. And the exercise idea was for me was if the rhythm is consistent, 1 2 3 4 1 2 3 1 2 3 4 1 2 3 1 2 3 1 2 3 4 1 2 3, what can you do that can create a melody where none of the harmony is, well, some of the harmony is functional, but most of the harmony is non-functional. It's just based on the idea of agogic accents and melodies within the piece, and it's a really good way of seeing how harmony and melody can connect to each other based on, you know, pulse and rhythm. And that's why I ended up writing that.
So, my first question is that like I'm assuming that's like a Ted Green thing, so that all of that was happening in the moment.
The chord sequence is written. The fundamental ostinato that you hear and that's written in notation is written. The harmonic accompaniment that you're hearing, that's the harmony parts, is improvised. So
They're not all happening at the same time.
I first wrote the line.
Yeah.
The fundamental ostinato.
Okay.
Which is what you hear as the primary voice, because I wanted to tell that story and I wanted to sequence those chords in that order and tell that story. And then when that track was playing, I overdubbed the same chords, but I'm totally different voicings and improvising. But because the rhythmic pulse is 1 2 3 4 1 2 3 1 2 3 4 1 2 3, I don't have to think. I can just take different colors that I know will be the same type of harmonic structure and see if I can make it match with what happens. I think I got the harmony pass in the second pass. I'm going through it.
The ostinato has the bass note basically.
It's the written part. It's the written line that you were seeing.
Yeah, I see.
Yeah.
Wow, that was really beautiful.
I like that piece. It was based on a tune by John McLaughlin called "Dance of Maya" on one of the Mahavishnu Orchestra records.
Yeah.
And the piece is called Maya's Other Dance because I was like figuring, well, she must have done more than one dance.
Okay. I think that's very funny.
I
was looking for Machado. And you know, there's been so many billions of it hasn't been billions, but over 400 people. So I was looking for I was looking for my favorites, but Machado, is that
searching through your 426 interviews?
Well, I didn't want to, but I feel like his name is Machado, but
I like being 426. I don't know if there's anyone who knows numerology stuff, tell us what 426 means, because it's like 3, I think, because it's 6 plus 4 is 10 plus 2 is 12. 2 plus 1 is 3, so it's a 3 numerologically, and I have no idea what that would mean.
I am right about Machado, but it's Philippe. But I wanted to show you this if I could find it.
I'm sorry, wait, by the way, happy May the 4th, because it's, you know, may the 4th be with you. I have to.
Thank you. Yeah, that is so true, right?
May the 4th be with you.
May the 4th be with you. Okay, I'm going to play this for you.
Okay.
I finally found it. I think you're going to really love this. If you haven't seen this already. Do you know Philo Machado?
No, I don't.
I interviewed them, both of them. This is grandfather and grandson. This was a bunch of years ago. Now his grandson's probably in his late 20s and still doing it. And so is Philo still doing it. I guess he's pretty famous in Brazil.
So solid. Great changes there.
I know, it's beautiful.
That pedal note all the way down is awesome.
Yeah.
Its time is amazing.
Isn't that incredible?
What I like is the joy that he's getting out of 5.
Oh, yeah. Totally amazing.
Bouncing
Yeah.
joy of like playing in 5 and having so much fun doing it. And the way his fingers, his fingers aren't big enough to grab the bigger voicings of those, so he gets a very utilitarian sort of grabbing of those colors and never loses the groove.
Yeah.
It's great.
Isn't that amazing?
Yeah, that's
Yeah.
great. Thank you
Yeah.
for sharing that.
Yeah. There's a bunch of other ones too, but
Someday I'll show you some
Oh.
videos. I have some videos. I was on tour with a blues singer, a woman blues singer for a while, and the drummer and I had drummer's Brian Hawley is an amazing Cal Arts grad, probably one of the most beautiful advanced drummers I know in LA, and incredible singer. And he and I would always break into conical in the middle of like rock tunes. And we were touring with this woman and we were doing a Zeppelin tune, and we convinced her at a giant festival where we were to let us, in the middle of the tune, break into a conical jam in odd meter.
huh.
And I can't remember what Zeppelin tune it was. Been a long time since I rock and rolled, I think. And in the middle of Been a Long Time Since I Rock and Roll, he and I break into a conical jam
Wow.
in the middle of it, just because we were bored.
Wow, that's so cool, man.
That was beautiful.
Wow.
That's what I see. And when I think about music and all stuff, there's so much virtuosity that's happening when you go on YouTube and you see, and it's great. They have access to a lot of information. Younger guys have more facility, and there's a lot of virtuosos arising. But when you see a young man like that, rock solid time, with so much joy about keeping a solid, and he's got so much joy.
Yeah.
Like that's interesting to me. I'd rather listen to that than most anything else.
Yeah, and the harmonies, the different harmonies, than you're used to. And of course, Brazil, I mean, that's what they do, right? And it's really so beautiful. But oh gosh.
I love reharmonizing. I think that that's one of the things that people are. We have a little time left, right? If the Joni Mitchell tune that I did the arrangement of,
Yeah.
the video, that is there's a lot of reharm going on in the structure of that tune.
Is
And I
that
also treat it later as a waltz, which
does
is
that have that's
that's video. There's a whole video.
yeah, and that's one of the first two, I think. Is it the first one? First
Both
one
Sides Now?
is that's live at Cozy's. And let's see what the maybe it's the latter two or something, right?
Yeah, you'll see it in the title. I think Both Sides Now. You should see it in the title.
I don't see it in the title, but is it Joni Mitchell cover? Here we go.
Don't have sound. Oh, there, yeah, there's.
Flows and flows of angel hair and ice cream castles in the air and feather canyons everywhere. painted clouds that way. But now they only block the sun. They rain and snow on everyone. So many things I would have done, but clouds got in my way. I looked at clouds from both sides now, from up and down, but still somehow it's clouds illusions I recall. I really don't know clouds at all. Moons and Junes and Ferris wheel, the dizzy dancing way you feel in every fairy tale comes real. I've looked at love that way, but now it's just another show. You leave them laughing when you go, and if you care, don't let them know. Don't give yourself away. I've looked at love from both sides now, from give and take. Still somehow it's love's illusions I recall. I really don't know love. Tears and fears and feeling proud to say I love you right out loud. Dreams and schemes and circus crowds. I've looked at life that way, but now old friends, they're acting strange. They shake their heads, they say I've changed. Well, something's lost, but something's gained in living every day. I've looked at life from both sides now, from win and lose. Still somehow it's life's illusions I recall. I really don't know
I like that version.
That, John, is truly gorgeous.
Thank you.
So, is that is this from a record?
No, it's the thing I was telling you about that I do every once in a while when I'm kind of. Actually, you know what? Maybe I'm being so lame. It's on my second Ted Green tribute CD.
Okay.
There you go.
And so, where can people get that actually?
Bandcamp. Just my name.
Bandcamp.
Yeah, Bandcamp on my name. I chose Bandcamp because people can listen for free if they're poor. And I actually donate most of the money I get from CD sales. All 4 of my CDs are on Bandcamp. And I donate a portion of it to Music Cares. I donate a portion to tedgreen.com. I donate a portion to Mike Finnegan, who passed last year, the music school in Kansas. It's part of something I learned from Ted about money and music. I don't sell enough of my CDs to really make a lot of money. I'll never recoup, but I made them because I wanted to. So if it generates money, I try and use it to help. Music Cares is one of my favorite organizations, and I support them as best I can. And tedgreen.com has a very special place in my heart. So I do it. I don't make very much, and I donate very rarely because people listen for free, which is fine.
That's really cool. Let's see. Yeah, I'm on the advisory board for a related organization, the California Jazz Foundation, which
Oh,
provides financial help for LA jazz musicians.
good.
Yeah. So now, if I go to John March, I'm going to share my screen so people can see. But I saw the For Once in My Life.
So those are the 4 CDs. So the blue and the orange one at the bottom are the Zen Blues Quartet Cds.
Okay.
And that's with all the wonderful musicians I was describing before. The Chord Alchemy was the tribute CD I made right after Ted passed, and I made that with Barbara sort of as my advisor. I was very, very shy to release that. I don't sound anything like Ted. I don't play anything like Ted, but I wanted to try and approach his arrangements. So those are all solo guitar arrangements of Ted's arrangements.
I'll have to listen to those. And For Once in My Life, was that
That's
the second
you
one?
played the track. Yeah, that's the one you played the track from.
So this is the one that the Joni Mitchell thing was at.
If you click on it and scroll down, I'll tell you. You can see what all the songs are, but I believe
I see. Now this, that particular song is amazing. I mean, I keep thinking in certain times you remind me a little bit of Jamie Finley's musical point of view.
Wow,
Do you
that's
know
a
him?
very high compliment. That's a very, very high compliment.
Yeah, you guys would play really nicely together.
I all the arrangements on this record that you're looking at were months. That arrangement of For Once in My Life was about 6 months of my life writing that arrangement. And then it wasn't just writing it, but like trying to figure out how to improvise at the end. I know it's distorted guitar and it's not I'm not a jazz player, so I don't have traditional jazz tones. I have a more aggressive approach because I come from a sort of blues fusion background. But all of the arrangements on this, for example, "Fly Me to the Moon" I do as a very beautiful Latin, a Latin thing. The gospel version of "You'll Never Be Alone" was with a friend of mine who's a wonderful gospel singer, and it's all just kind of stuff that I arranged, and then the harmonic concepts in terms of how the guitar interacts with the voice.
Yeah.
Were based on work that I'd done with Ted.
Well, and so on both sides now, that was that Mark was singing.
Mark Oblinger, yeah.
And was it just you on the guitar?
Yeah, so it's an orchestrated guitar sort of perspective. So what
Yeah.
I'll do is I write out the harmonic structure. I'll play a very rough sketch. Mark sang against it.
Yeah.
And then I orchestrate textures, artificial harmonics. I think there's a baritone guitar on the bass there. And I layer so that as elements are coming in, it felt like voices supporting the vocal because it was an accompaniment project.
Oh,
The whole
okay.
thing was how do I take that tune and not sound like every other person who's covered that song?
Yeah.
And especially going into the waltz, the second half, because of the lyric,
Yeah.
"Dizzy dancing way you make me feel." I thought that really feels like a waltz in here.
It was beautiful. I noticed that.
Yeah, it felt like. And then the video is just me dorking around with stock footage.
I've done that several times. Yeah, it's fun. I mean, I look back and I go, well, I could have done that a little better. But at the time, I really felt like that moment reflected the music that was going on, and
I agree with that.
it's kind of like making a record. But that I'm really taken by that arrangement, that harmony and the beautiful guitar work. I mean,
Thank you.
wow. I probably could listen to that over and over again.
That's
Might
very high
might be a desert island kind of a thing. It's really gorgeous.
Thank you. I mean, for me, like sitting here with you, this is really great, spontaneous. But I used to come see you and Ted play. You were like one of my. I was younger, and
You're about 15 years younger than me, 14 years, something like that.
I met. Okay, I was introduced to Ted in '74 by Gary Mandel. I don't know if you knew Gary, but Gary
Name
was
sounds familiar.
he was the main guitar teacher at McCabe's.
Oh,
I was visiting my dad for that summer, and I used to go down there and hang out in that. And if you remember that wonderful circle in McCabe's where you could jam, and
yeah.
and so I would take lessons with Gary, and then I would hang out. I got to play with all these amazing musicians when I had no idea what I was doing. And I think Ted came in once, and Gary introduced me to him, and that was super sweet to me. I mean, I could barely play anything. And then when I was 17, I started studying with Ted properly. And, I went through, I mean, one of my most prized possessions, I don't know if you've ever seen them, but Ted kept these notes on all of his students, like a piece of paper, in that tiny little immaculate writing. And he had 4 pages of notes on me back and front that Barbara sent me. And,
Wow.
it's everything from like, he's 17, he's a junior in college, he's living in
Wow.
Boulder. His father passed away. He had a baby, and the nicest thing anyone's ever said to me in my life, Ted wrote on the first page, he wrote, plays mostly by ear. And then he wrote in parentheses, a really good one. And close parentheses. And I when Barbara sent that to me, I burst into tears
Oh,
because it was like, there's no greater compliment you could get from any musician in your lifetime than Ted Green saying that you have a decent ear, right? I mean, I never tried to play like Ted ever, and I'm always super hesitant when people ask me about it. I can explain it, I can show you how to play the arrangements, but I don't play them the way Ted did. But Ted, and when I would go see you playing with him, it was like the highlight because Ted's solo guitar stuff was always great. But when you guys would play together, it was magic. It was complete magic,
wow. Thanks. It's nice to remember. You know, I don't know if I've told you this or not, but so when I was at Berkeley, there was mostly guitar players there.
Sure.
Very few singers. I mean, well, very few women. They didn't have a singing program. I was a flutist, and but so since there were so many guitar players, and that was the period probably chord chemistry may have come out slightly earlier or something. This was like in 72. So I had heard his name. And so when I moved to LA, I was a waitress at Dante's.
Wow.
And one night he came in, and I don't know if you remember, but he had a very low tolerance for volume.
Yes.
Obviously after he played rock and roll, right? He went through whatever. He fainted. And so I happened to be the person looking over him when he woke up. And so I, introduced myself, and I found out he was Ted Green, and I said, "Oh, I know your name," and I said, "Gee, you want to get together and play?" And he said, "Sure." And which I didn't realize was like so rare, and we
That's
got
the
together.
best story I've ever heard in my entire life.
Yeah, we got together, and then we developed these arrangements. Then we were ready to play, And I had been doing a few like hotel type of gigs because I came back to LA with a guitar player named Ron Peters who was at Berkeley. And
I knew Ron actually.
huh?
That name's really familiar, Ron Peters.
He lives in Seattle. He's lived there for
I
a
think
long
he
time.
knows a really good. I think he knows my friend Tim Scott. I'm pretty sure they know each other.
Yeah,
I've heard that name
probably.
up there. Yeah,
He was in that Pearl Django too for a little bit.
I may know, or maybe I heard of him through Tim Lurch's stuff working with him. It's possible.
Yeah. So anyway, make a long story short, that was really my first gig. Like artistic gig or any kind of like here I am, and it was at the sound room, and I put up like one piece of paper at some music store, and when I got there to the gig, there was no standing room.
Yeah,
And I was, you can imagine. But
yeah.
Ted and I had rehearsed, so. But we did that gig for a year. I think we did it every week or something, And
I saw a bunch of them. I saw a bunch of you performing with him. Anytime Ted would play out, I would try and go out and see him because you never
Yeah.
knew when he would never do it again or how long in between it would be.
Did you ever go to the Smokehouse gigs that he did?
Yeah.
Yeah, me too.
There was one gig at the Smokehouse that changed my life. He was playing solo, and he was in a mood, and he really didn't want to be looking at anybody. He was just kind of in one of those moods, and he closed his eyes, and he played for about 2 hours straight. And he was doing this thing where he would take a standard and he would go through all of the composers, how they would treat it, like historically, like he'd start with like Bach or Mozart, and he would take it all the way up through the modern jazz guys. And I remember like there were probably about 200 of the top LA guitar players all sitting in there in the room, like this the whole time. And he gets done at the end of the 2 hours, looks up, and he goes, "I got lucky on those keys." And he improvised all that crazy stuff for 2 hours, not looking at the instrument, just because he didn't want to deal with anybody, just playing. And he looks up and he goes, I got lucky with those keys. And you saw 200 jaws just drop to the ground. It was something. And he was the kindest music teacher. I mean, I studied with a bunch of guitar players, but he was probably my main guitar teacher over the course of my life. And he was the kindest person. He knew who he was. He never flaunted it. He never, you could pique his ire if you were kind of being like weird, but he was to me the kindest person I've ever met in music. Like the most generous, supportive. He met me when I could barely play, and he would always say, and I would always be so shy, and I go, "I don't play solo guitar, Ted. I just love harmony. I love what you're showing me." And he go, "Just go play blues and use this stuff," And he was, I don't know. I'm there's a couple of us that we talk every once in a while. We miss him terribly.
So beautiful. My friend Dan posted, I'll have to go check it out later. Because, yeah. You and I could spend a lot of time on this. But I remember this, Dan. He posted the Both Sides Now that Ted did.
Oh, I'd love to hear that. I've never heard that.
Really?
No, I've never heard it.
All right, let me play a little bit of.
If I start crying, can you cut my camera off?
Yes. Hold on, where did I? Okay, this is quite. Yeah, I remember hearing this. It's really quite beautiful.
God. Okay, come on. Come on, that's too much. Too much. I'm actually crying. I'm actually crying. It's it's because he it's not just that the melody's happening, it's that the secondary voice and the harmonic structure and the reharmonization and the intermoving line and the structuring to dominant where it's major so he gets that blues effect at the end. All that stuff is what made him magic. That's what I mean, I would I I have to get that link from you, but that's well now I don't want to listen to mine ever again. So that's okay though.
But yours is absolutely gorgeous, though. I really think so. Seriously, I like I said, it's probably I'm guessing that it would be one of my desert island pieces. It's really beautiful. It's very
If I'd heard
and it
Ted
has that
before, I wouldn't have done it.
intricate.
Yeah.
It has that intricate, intricate weaving inside of it that I'm sure you got from Ted.
Yeah, but not like that. See, that's the thing. Not nobody.
Well,
No.
but nobody's like anybody. I mean, Ted is there's nobody like Ted. But he still imparted the beautiful information to you, and you interpreted that, and now you put it out in your way, which is gorgeous. Really
Yeah,
beautiful.
I try. I don't put out things anymore. I don't have that. Again, I'm not good at self promoting, and I'm not really gigging. So I just put out music because it makes me feel right in the
Yeah,
world.
yeah.
That's just the basic thing, and I will probably continue exploring Ted's work until my hands don't work anymore.
I have to say I really love the video of Ted and I at you said you were there at
Yeah.
Rocco's, and it's so I mean I just love when after we've lost somebody that we can actually see them in on video. It just totally knocks me out. It just brings them back so well, and he was like you said such a beautiful person, so humble and in service, and
Yeah, he and Barbara were, yeah, they were something.
yeah.
Um, the only tune you and I have played together, and I chose it specifically when we sat in, was Route 66 because of that show. I chose that specifically because I was like, okay, if I'm going to play with Cathy, I'm going to play. It's the only time we played one tune. We played one tune together.
Where did we play together?
I think it was at the Baked Potato. I think you sat in at the
Oh.
Baked Potato or something like that. I remember we talked about it after. I was like, oh yeah, you were great. That was awesome. Thank you. I was trying to hold back. Oh my God, that's Cathy.
Oh gosh.
Are you gonna play me out? Play the What a Life song because that's perfect. It's the lyric is perfect for us.
Okay.
And Mike sings his heart out on What a Life. And I want to say before you're gonna let me go because I know this your show, but I am so happy to connect with you here. So honored to be able to talk to you, and pleased that people that I really love and respect are making music, and that you're having these conversations because it's so opposite to the sort of superficial conversations or the weird I guess the promotional conversations.
Yeah.
It's like this is much more humane and the kind of thing that interests me, and I'm really grateful you're doing it. And I hope people are. I haven't been following who's been watching what we're doing because I think I'd be too uncomfortable or nervous. But I hope people watch these and support you in what you're doing.
Thank you. I get comments all over the place, and people appreciate it for various reasons, and so it's great. And I appreciate you being on. And as you see, we got through 2 hours, no problem at all.
Has it really been 2 hours?
Yeah,
Okay.
yeah.
It was fun. It was really fun.
Really fun. I'd love to. I mean, I don't do a lot of recording at home, but I'd like to get into it. I just got a good lesson on my Logic, and I have a pretty good mic. It'd be really fun to actually just try a little something together. Like
Anytime. I'd be
Yeah.
honored. I'd be honored.
I mean. I was telling Tim Lurch this week why I liked singing with guitar, and I know it sounds silly, but I kind of said it in a way that I've never said it before, and but all that to say that I really do love singing with guitar. I mean, I like a great piano player and it's wonderful, and but it's really different than singing with guitar. Guitar is it's more of a sensuous kind of a feeling, and it's somehow within a different universe for me than piano is. Piano is somewhere out a little more spread out, and guitar is like this kind of beautiful bubble. So
Everything you're saying is cool and amazing, and I just think it's like kind of a lyric for a Gershwin tune.
wow.
Everything but a keyboard. Everything but a keyboard.
Okay.
Everything.
Everything but you.
Everything but you. I think my favorite lyric recently was, "I've had harder times from better women than you." That was my.
That's cool. There was a project that Tim Weston did. He did actually, I think, 2 projects that had orchestra, and this one was a tribute to Rodgers and Hammerstein, right? And he had a different artist on each cut with a different arranger.
Oh wow!
One of my favorite cuts was Mark Murphy singing a Nan Schwartz arrangement of "This Nearly Was Mine." Take the knife out of your chest, But there was this other song that Van Dyke Parks arranged that I had never heard, and it was called "Everybody's Got a Home But Me." And it was one of those kind of songs, "Everybody's got a home but me," that kind of thing.
Sounds like a Moe's tune.
It was a little happier than a Moe's tune. But and there was supposed to be a rock singer who I never found out who that was. Anyway, the rock singer couldn't cut it, the arrangement, I guess, or whatever. So they got, are you familiar with Nancy King?
Sure. Yeah.
So they got Nancy King, one of the queens of, modern jazz singing. And that was the other favorite of mine on that record. It was really an interesting record. So why did I say all that?
We were just going somewhere. I don't know. I think you're about to play me out. You're playing me out.
Yeah, and so I'm playing.
Finnegan, What a Life, and then I will say.
Was it the video or the?
There's a video of Finnegan singing "What a Life." It's perfect. Perfect for this show.
I wonder if it was the second one. Let's see. Is it this one? No, that's the
probably
same
the first one, because the second one was the Same Old Blues.
Yeah. Okay. Yep, there it is.
Thanks for having me, Cathy.
Thank you. We can come back and say goodbye, but thank you so much, John March. Really fun.
I got me a uptight good woman. I got me an uptight lady girl. I got me a real whole situation. I got me some problems, that's for sure. I think I'm a fighter, I know I'm a lover. I believe I will get over in my life. I've had me some papers and got me some views. Got stuff with some blood spilled into some grooves. And sinners and winners and cable sing. Consider the maybes but never the kings. Yeah, I'm not the type of greatest, complaining about the greatness of my life. What a life, what a life. What a life, what a life. It's the only one that I've got, and I sure do love it a lot. What a life. These are my blues and give me some more. When the 3 mile line, you hear a roll. Ain't nothing to go up and turn me around. Been lost in the jungle, but now I'm found. I will drink from love's sweet mountain, shout from the highest mountain of my life. What a life, what a life. What a life, what a life. I wouldn't
God. Wow. That was amazing. I can't hear you for some reason.
If it was feeding back. The trading fours at the end of that with Mike is one of the high points of my music career. That show with Mike, I think I told you briefly, but the first time I got on stage with Mike, I knew absolutely nothing about music.
Yeah.
That guy is just, he's amazing. A very big loss for the music community.
Aw.
But I loved being here and loved sharing with you and had a great time. I hope you had an audience. I don't know.
Yeah, we do. And people also look back at it too. So
Okay.
it's all that.
I let a lot of people know, and hopefully the word will get out and you get a bigger and bigger audience. And then next thing you know, you won't be taking my calls.
Exactly. Thank you, John.
My pleasure.
I enjoyed it so much.
My pleasure.
Thank you. Goodbye, everybody. If you're in LA tomorrow night, Thursday night, I'm working at Casey's in the San Fernando Valley. Casey's Tavern.
Go to that show.
Really fun. And then Saturday, I have a set and a jam at the conference room in Playa Vista. So go look on my website if you're in LA and you want to come hang out.
Support Cathy. Support live music.
All right. Bye, John.
Take care.